inclusive, transformative, and even sustainable society, which embraces all across Africa. Now, the central vocal points are focused on policy, advocacy, rights of persons with disability, media roles in inclusion. He is a media communication for development specialist with deep knowledge in journalism, advocacy, disability and inclusion, public policy, governance, and non-profit management for the past 25 years. Good afternoon, sir. It's we're honored to have you on this platform. Hello? Okay, I guess it's the network, but we're happy to have you on. We've had him before now on the program.
I just wanted to say Happy New Year to him.
Yes. We've had you on the program before, and want to say Happy New Year, and of course, we're glad you're here again.
Right.
We're happy that each time we call you, can you hear me? We say Happy New Year and thank you for agreeing to join us once more on this program.
Good afternoon and Happy New Year to everybody. It's a privilege to be on this program again after a long time.
Yes.
And I hope you are doing well, both Esther and Aisha.
Yes, we are.
We are.
Thank you so much for asking. So, the Discrimination Act Against Persons with Disability Prohibition Act was signed into law in January 2019 and is discrimination on the basis of one's physical, mental, and sensory impairments. Now, the Act sets up a National Commission for Persons with Disability to oversee the inclusivity of persons with disability in the society and also uplift their well-being, while the Act provides a 5-year transitory period from its enactment. Now, as someone who is an advocate of persons with disability, because the 5 years that was given provided has elapsed rather. What has there been any success story regarding the act?
Let's first of all say that there may be a little success story.
Okay.
We were not where we used to be. First, the law was passed, and I think that is first success story. Another thing is that there was a little amendment to it because the law initially stated that every public building must be accessible by 5 years. So it was later amended that every building, not just only public building, every building, rental building, private building should be accessible. And I think that is another success story. And late last year, we can also say there was another success story. Okay. There was now a statutory demand that each local government chairman must appoint special advisor on disability to build inclusiveness at the local government grassroots level. And I think that those are worth celebration. But be that as it may, we also need to understand that we are still far from the reality of that after Act 2018. Like you said, issue of accessibility is a major one among several other demands. Issue of accessibility shows that it's mandated the fact that all buildings, public buildings and private buildings, should be accessible. But if you look around, even because that 5 year elapsed 2023, and officially by 2024, the implementation and execution of the law should have taken effect, by the way, meaning that each public building or private building that is not accessible, that the owner should be taken to the law to lock out, and then if one guilty should be jailed or punished. Interestingly, the conversation around accessibility of public building, which was one of the demands, started in 2024, which were part of it. But as you know, if you go to the Federal Secretariat in Abuja and all the state secretariat, which should be an example of accessibility, we know that there are little changes that are made. Sometimes they have ramps, but what is the quality of that ramp? Does those ramps meet the international standard. But that's another conversation for another day. All right, we have some buildings of at the Federal Secretariat, State Secretariat that are story building. That means that some of them are 2 or 3 story building. Yes, government has tried in some cases to actually include lifts or elevator. Interestingly, because of power situation, in most cases, those elevators don't work. In our airport, we now have elevator and whatever. You find out that in most cases, some of them don't work, either because of electricity challenge. Yes, MMA in Lagos is a bit fine, and Nnamdi Azikiwe is improving from what he used to be. But in terms of that, we find out that most people, most person with disability are still finding the issue of accessibility an Herculean task that they are not able to actually scale the audio now because the environment is still not conducive. Well, in terms of the private sector, yes, we can see that some of our banks are trying to make adjustments in creation of ramps and all that, but we have seen that most of them concentrate only on like visually impaired. We expect that there should be, in terms of hearing impaired and visually impaired person, you find out there are no interpreter, there are no sign languages at the counter within the operational basis of some of our bank, other customer service engagement platform. So we are far from this. One well suggested that for hearing impaired or hard of hearing, there's what they call loops that can be used to increase the sound of people serving them. Most of our restaurants, you can't find anywhere where you find those loops, wall loops that can say, "Oh, customer 4, come forward." For visually impaired person and hearing impaired, is still a long way to freedom for most of them. Wow. And beyond that, we also don't forget we have in terms of accessibility for person with albinism. There have been always a complaint there that most of the ATM machines are too tall or they are not well lighted for them. So there are a lot of accessibility issues all around. So we're not yet there. That would be my initial thought on that question. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I like that you came from the angle of the elevator because last year I remember vividly we were supposed to have a guest who is has a disability and mobility impaired, and when I contacted her to come for on this show, the first question she asked me was, how accessible is your station? And in my little mind I was like, okay, it's very accessible. And then she asked me that because I was like, okay, yes, it's very accessible. Then she said, okay, what do you, and then I had to ask her again, what do you mean by accessibility? And she's like, okay, she's on a wheelchair. How would she get to our office? With so much confidence, I told her that, we have an elevator. And then she asked me for the second time, is the elevator always working? And then that was when I remember that, oh my God, there was more to having an elevator in an organization or, in a company or anywhere that you have an elevator, but it should be working on it 24/7 to be able to, because, and then we couldn't have her in the studio because I wasn't sure if the elevator would be working when she would come, and there would be no point for her to leave her house, come all the way, and then come to the studio, and then we realized that the elevator is not working, so that she would have to turn back. So unfortunately, we had to do that interview online. As much as I would have really wanted her right here in the studio, we couldn't do that because we were not sure of the electricity, if it would be working when she would be coming. Also, let's talk about boreholes. Now, there are no boreholes for persons with disability. The hand pumping boreholes. So if a person with disability gets there and there's a borehole, how does he or she use that borehole? In situations where there's no water, how do they access water in their areas when, we know government is trying to, provide boreholes in areas, in communities, but then they forget people with disability in such communities. Now, if you have a borehole and there's somebody that is should I say, visually impaired? How do the person use that borehole that you are, providing for the community? So I think that government needs to look at that area. Also, in terms of bus stop, at bus stop there's supposed to be, special, seat for persons with disability when they get to each bus stop, and even inside the bus, because sometimes they enter the bus, and when the person that is visually impaired enters a bus stop, it becomes difficult for him to even find a seat to sit down, and then at the same time when he is about to alight from the bus, he finds it difficult to alight from the bus. So I think that these are some of the things that we should look at, even in schools, which is a major one. Schools, as much as they are trying, there's a need, there's a lot that needs to be done, because when person that is hearing impaired, we call it, right, gets to school, and then he doesn't, if he goes to, they should be able to have rights to go to any school that they want to, and then the school management should be able to provide all of these things that they would need for them. So that leads us to our main conversation for today. You did something, that's your Center for Disability and Inclusion Africa is doing this campaign with the hashtag wheelchair not luggage. What is this about? What is this campaign about?
Yeah, like we cannot solve all the problem in one day.
Right.
But we can start from somewhere.
Right.
The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a first step.
Yes.
So this campaign, Wheelchair Not Luggage, is a product of our research and interactions across Nigeria with persons with mobility challenge. Often people say people focus on mobility challenge first. What about other clusters? Yes, I think we should take it one at a time. So wheelchair not a luggage is a product of our interviews, interaction with persons with disability. It is costly to get mobility items now. The common wheelchair is expensive beyond the what an average person with disability can actually afford. Now, if you try all your best to get a wheelchair, I'm not talking of electric one or those ones that are because I've seen wheelchair of 40 million, 50 million that many cannot even have. But at least there are average wheelchair that every person with mobility can actually use. Now, if they are able to avoid that, to be able to afford that, the complaint is the fact that many motorists are not aware that it is abuse of their rights, or it is illegal to not to pick a person with wheelchair because the person is a wheelchair user. It is illegal to abuse them because of the fact that they are using wheelchair. Nobody wants to. Circumstances push them into such situation. And so we find out that in most cases, in most of our cities, in most of our semi-urban places, the transport workers, the airline operators are more concerned about their gain or the profits. Yes, we do understand that some taxis, some public taxi or buses may not have enough space in their trunk where they should keep the wheelchair when you carry somebody with a wheelchair. We do understand that factor. But the fact is, the general lack of awareness of the fact that it is illegal and it is something punishable under the law if you are found guilty for not picking a person. That's discrimination against their rights of movement and moving around. So we discovered that oftentimes when they actually wait, it was you that actually wait for them, or when these people go to motor park to actually go and get taxi or buses or whatever, most of the time they are insulted. They are not picked because they have a wheelchair, and because they want to monetize everything, they will also charge their wheelchair as if it is a luggage. But to be honest, mobility item, wheelchair is a mobility item. It's not a luggage. And therefore, they find out that they are, in fact, one of the interviews we did, some who are not even using wheelchair, who are on crutches, said that when they want to actually take the normal Okada that is prominent in Nigeria, in some cases, that they are charged extra. Like if it is a trip of 100 or 200 for a person that is not using, that is without a mobility challenge, they will say, I'm carrying load. So they assume that it's a load for them, and therefore they charge more money extrally. So we need to open the eyes of the public to the fact that it is illegal. It's injustice not to see people who use wheelchair as a burden to the society. Nobody want to be born like that. Nobody want to use wheelchair. Situation puts them into it. So the essence of what we're doing is to create awareness, raise up our voice against this abuse of their right. Don't forget, abuse against any person is abuse against everyone. And injustice to one is injustice to everyone. You cannot talk of inclusion or justice in a society, and then a section of that society are being marginalized, are being abused daily. So you find out that most drivers, most public drivers, most whatever airline do not even know it's illegal. So for the first stage of this campaign of which are not luggage is basically to create awareness and to let them know that if you continue in this, because yes, ignorance is not an excuse against the law, but we discovered that to solve this, we need to solve the ignorance of the aspect of ignorance against the law for most of them. Now, for those few who do know that this is law, they continue to perpetrate this act because nobody has been found guilty or nobody has been punished. And that's why we say that even the DAFTA Act of 2018, which is time for government to set up, because we know that our legal system, you can't get justice on time. So part of what we're advocating as wheelchair is that if it is also possible, government should also set up a specialized law court where people can get justice. Yes, we also understand the fact, there's also a fact that somebody has raised that even within the discrimination against disability law, or even the 1999 Constitution as amended, there was no specific mention of the quality of judgment that can be given. Whether it was not stated that, okay, if you are found guilty, you pay so amount, but it just said that it is punishable offense. And because those loopholes, like the lawyer would say, the lacunas in the law, those loopholes give people the opportunity to continue because they will tell you there was no specific, the law did not mention how much am I supposed to pay if I'm found guilty, or how many months in jail am I supposed to be. But don't also forget that the moment you are found guilty, whether you pay a fine or not, you are ex-convict, and that can also destroy your image. So we need to begin to raise some of these issues in the public, make it a public conversation, make the conversation to be in the public domain, so that at least people get to know, especially public taxi drivers, National Union of Road Transport Workers, and all other road private and public road transport workers.
I think it's a very good one because the first time I saw it, I was really impressed because I've seen situations whereby persons with disability who are on wheelchair don't get to use certain, like he said, you go to the park and you want to, some of them would even tell you, oh, guy, you have to carry drop. If you're not carrying drop, I can't carry you. And then when they finally agree to carry you, they're asking you to pay extra cash just for your wheelchair. But I like that it's clear now. Wheelchair is not a luggage, and in no occasion should person with disability go to anywhere and try to use public transport and driver asks him to pay extra cash for his wheelchair. Esther, let's hear you.
I would like to ask, and since the beginning of the campaign, what has the response been like? Because putting out something that people have looked at as a norm,
normalized.
And then you're telling them that this is not the normal thing. So what has been the response, being from the drivers, being from public and on viewers? What has the response been like for you?
Yeah, you see, we love the response. I think nobody has raised this conversation. So it is new to most of the people who are even shocked that the campaign is even coming on at this. Most people are not even aware, and they say, oh, I never knew. So you find that kind of shock in the faces of most drivers who says, we didn't know about that. That is an informal. But we know that the reach is still not as much as we want. Yes, thank God that we've had a lot of media coverages. We've had a lot of interviews here and there, radio stations and like you. And thank God for, thank you, radio station for joining us in this conversation. It shows how inclusive your radio station is, and I must praise your management team for giving this opportunity to discuss this. I must say that, in fact, you deserve an award and somebody should actually clap for you. But by the way, we need to understand some of the things that we have also seen. A lady who is using a wheelchair, this complaint that even when they want to pick her up, particularly if it is not a motor park arrangement, that some will deliberately touch her breast. They deliberately. And if she complains that it's sexual harassment, they will say, don't even thank God that we are even carrying you. Who is even touching your body?
That's harassment.
Thank God that somebody is touching. So you can see that of humiliation. That you even stop, and there is an opportunity for you to now sexually molest the person on the wheelchair. These are some of the things that by the time this campaign blows up very well, we will begin to go to court and test the veracity of that law. Even though there's no stated punishment, the law was just ambiguous and say it's a punishable offense. What is punishable, whether it's 6 months or a certain amount of money, was not stated, was not there. So another thing we are going to be able to do as we go, because we are not clamping down on this campaign now. We're going to go to state assemblies and the National Assembly, where the laws were made, to be specific that they need to do an amendment to that law to be able to say that it is not just ambiguous provision that is punishable. What is the repercussion? And because we know that the law in Nigeria, the law courts in Nigeria can delay, we also begin to ask government also, please, particularly the legislative arm, is it possible to create a specialized court that deal with this case so that these people can get their judgment on time, and there are people who are made as scapegoat? Because when people have not seen somebody being punished, they assume that everything still continue to be. So we love the fact that some people, little by little, we know it's a long journey to freedom, but now we can find people say, we don't even know that's actually an abuse, or we don't even know that is injustice against them. We are running for money. We want to make profit, and also in some cases, our trunks are not that light. But like you said, in terms of inclusive procurement, I think that government also not to begin to look at procuring the right kind, because if you look at all the government buses, it's not even most of them are not accessible.
Right.
Number two, there are no provision. There are no provision for them where a person with disability will have to sit down. You understand? Even within the buses,
right,
that government even are buying. So government is not leading by example as far as we are concerned. If there's something that they call inclusive procurement that thinks about, like look at bus stop for instance. When you get to a bus stop, there's no specialized place where person with disability, either mobility or whatever, will have to sit.
Yeah, exactly.
Particularly if you live in urban centers, most of those buses or car will not even stay. You have to rush to it, particularly if you live in Lagos. You have to run to it. How do you expect a person who uses wheelchair to run to go and meet buses? So there are a lot of issues around wheelchair not a luggage. It's not only transporter alone that we are going to be hitting their door. We are going to go to meet with national bodies of road transport workers, because as of now, the level of ignorance is huge. I'm telling you, most of them do not know. They just think that they are doing them a favor by carrying them. That, do you think I have time? Other passengers are waiting for me and all that. And it's not only public buses, even within the airline operators, we find cases where some were not picked because they use wheelchair or because they say they have zero mobility. But the issue of law is very clear in everything. The law is clear. It's against human rights. It's against their right or not right to transportation, not to be carried. Yes, you can give as many excuses and say, oh, my trunk is very small, and therefore, the little trunk I have to charge. So by putting your own wheelchair there, it has occupied space. Hey, we need to remember nobody wishes or pray to use a wheelchair. Right. And wheelchair, like we see, is not a luggage. Right. It's a personal mobility.
Thank you so much. I like that it's time to. I like that you came out with this, campaign. I think it's at the right time, even though, like you said, we were supposed to come before now. But I like that it's already taking place, and it's important for the campaign to go round. And when it does, there's a need to, punish those that do not, follow these laws, so that they serve as deterrents to others, and then they know that this is not something to be joked to. We'll go on a short break, and when we come back, the program Women's Corner continues on Citizen at 3.7 FM Abuja.
Need a lift? Feeling low, bored, or confused?
Want your dream to brightly glow?
Here is what to do.
Women's Corner is waiting just for you.
Education, work, lifestyle, career, mentorship, and family too.
We will tackle the issues, provide solutions, and see you through. Finding your voice, reaching high, and making an impact. Women's Corner, where knowledge can fly.
Join us every Mondays and Wednesdays at 1 p.m. for inspiring stories and practical advice to reach all your glories.
It's Women's Corner on Citizen 93.7 FM Abuja.
Woman,
Welcome back from that short break. It's still the program Women's Corner. Women's Corner is a program that comes your way every Mondays and Wednesdays on Citizen at 3.7 FM Abuja. We get to talk about lifestyle, family, marriage, relationship, and basically everything that has to do with women. And of course, we do get to discuss about the men and then the general things that happen in the society. Like I said, today we have Yinka Olaito in the studio. We're discussing virtually, so he's still in the studio anyway. The Executive Director, Center for Disability and Inclusion Africa. And it's been a very, wonderful discussion around persons with disability, and then the new campaign, which is going on right now on wheelchair, not luggage. Yinka, can you also tell us more? Because I know this one is new to us all. Like the wheelchair not a challenge is new. I know there are other things that are not normal that people need to know about, and then that you would really want to do more campaign on. Could you tell us more?
Yeah, one of the reasons why we are actually doing this, and I'm happy that your program is around women, is when it comes to gender-based violence, women with disabilities suffer more, and there's more women suffer more when it comes to violence. Now, women with disabilities suffer more than average man with disability on the streets. Like I said, for a man who is using wheelchair, if taxi driver or bus driver stay to actually board or lease him, they don't touch his private parts. It's very rare to see them touching a man's private part. We discovered that one of the things that this campaign is aimed at is also to reduce gender-based violence against women with disability, because it is in the process of helping to. You could actually help a person on a wheelchair without having to touch their private part. And as far as we are concerned, a woman's breast is our private personal part. So you find them, some even touch our behind in the course of trying to. Because there's a way you could actually help a person to stand up and get into a bus or a taxi without touching what we call private parts. So we find out that women are more exposed to a lot of gender-based violence, particularly women with disability that are using wheelchair to be sexually harassed or to be verbally harassed. And also sharing is also in the international environment, sharing unnecessary another person is also an abuse. They are trying to pick a woman, they could stare at her body so much that she's sexualized and she fell somehow. Beyond that, seductive jokes are also punishable, and it also can be considered a gender-based abuse. And you find out that when they help some women, your breast is very fine, even if they don't touch it. These are gender-based issues with regards to, but she has to accept it because she's dependent. So these are issues that, because when you say wheelchair is not a luggage, these are attendant issues that are associated with it, with women. And so, even if you do not touch, but most of them have complained so much that the complaints they actually touch. They touch them when they try to do it, because we've done little interview, and some of the cluster group have done video interviews about what they go through if driver even stay to pick them. So you look at, because wheelchair is not a luggage, it's not just about transportation issue, it's about gender-based violence associated with women with disability, where they touch them, where they stare at their body unnecessarily when they're trying to pick them, and or when they share seductive jokes that is unpleasant, or the person individual you are sharing it with is not comfortable with it. Because I can actually tell you that I'm not comfortable with it, and it become illegal for you on your part for saying things I'm not comfortable with, or touching me deliberately. There's a way you could help a woman with disability or mobility without touching a private part. But sometimes they deliberately do. Or sometimes they unintentionally do. And so a woman will have to keep quiet. But those who feel that this is too much, maybe the touch was too much, the press was too much, why are you doing it? And some are opening up to them and say, won't you even thank God that you see somebody who's even touching you? Now, I see, you can imagine the level of assault that women with disability, particularly those who use wheelchair are going through. So it's beyond the various abuse and human rights abuses when it comes to people with wheelchair. People who use wheelchair, physical mobility is much more than not picking them. So it's a chain of issues, injustices that we are trying to bring out, so that we can create this awareness that when you are trying to help a woman who is using a wheelchair, you don't have the right to stare at her body in a way that she's not comfortable. You don't have to touch her body in a way that she's not comfortable with. You need to ask. Where should I help you with? If the person says, just take my hand, you should stay with the hand. You don't have to talk behind, you don't have to touch her breast or something. Those are illegal. You don't have to share seductive joke. Babe, you are fine, your body is very fresh. I might be uncomfortable with such joke, and it is considered as gender-based violence. So when we talk about issue of which are not a luggage, it's a whole shade. But the only thing is that we are saying that what the luggage part is, people need to understand that wheelchair is a personal effect. It is not luggage. Nobody carry it as handbag, because you don't store things inside your wheelchair.
Right.
In most cases.
Oh yeah, so before Esther wants to ask a question, but before she does that, I'd like to call out the phone numbers for people who would want to join us or even send us WhatsApp messages. The number to call is 090-3222-9797. That is 090-3222-9797. Or you can send us WhatsApp messages on the number 081-82-22-2205. 081-82-22-2205. That's for WhatsApp messages. And then to call us on 090-32-22-97-97. Esther, let's hear you.
Okay, now I want to ask now regarding, because there's been a lot of talks about the harassment, especially gender-based harassment. What are the non-punishment for offenders, or are they just let them just let them go and say, okay, if you didn't know this now, you know this, because ignorance is not an excuse, and then you say, okay, grieving and awareness, and you go on. What are the known punishment for offenders of gender-based violence, especially on persons with disabilities?
You see, let me share with you. Let's give you a background to what we have just asked. When you get to a court of law, you must have evidence.
Right.
That's number one. Number two, it is behold on the lawyer that is proving your case to prove beyond reasonable doubt that this person is guilty. So we need to keep that in mind for when it comes to law court, because that's why some people go scot-free, because they don't have good lawyers who will actually push their case, or they may not even be knowledgeable around gender-based violence and all the issues. So eventually, some of the accusers go scot-free. But in terms of punishment, it all depends on the level of the harassment or the infringement you commit.
Okay.
And also, don't also forget that sometimes judgment is also based on the sentiment and orientation of the judges in the courts. So you have some people saying, okay, go to jail for 6 months. We have seen a case where somebody stole chicken and he was sentenced to life. There's this case in Osun State that was just recently, the governor just gave me. He was sentenced for selling chicken. And there are people who are stealing billions and they didn't even get 1 day jail.
Right.
So it's dicey. But the fact remains that it is punishable if your lawyer can prove it. But the what you get as punishment ranges from 1 month, 2 months, 6 months, life in jail, and all that. So and that's why some of the things that we are raising is bad. That particularly with this act of prohibition against discrimination against person,
yes,
the law was not specific. So when the law is not specific, it means that the judges or the magistrate can now just decide at the end of the day. They can even give you, go and sweep the floor in front of the courts. But the fact is, even if the moment you are found guilty, you are now ex-convicts. So that destroys your image as the person that is found guilty. But in terms of what is the appropriate law, what is the appropriate punishment? Punishment can vary depending on what offense you commit, what is the gravity of that offense. So you could also have 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, or the magistrate can say go to 6 years imprisonment for this and that. So, and I think that it's good for us to be specific. Yeah, the law will do, in some cases, the law may say 3 months imprisonment or 6 months imprisonment or option or fine. It all depends. But the fact is, whichever way we go, whether it is 6 months imprisonment or option or fine, the moment that judgment is given and there was no appeal, that individual has become an ex-convict, which every reasonable person will want not to bear that kind of name, because it affects a lot of things in public view at the end of the day. But the fact is, that's some of the things that we're going to be raising is, we want this law to be specific. Okay, if you only do this is how long your punishment, or it should be 6 months. In Nigeria Constitution, both 1999 as amended, or the DAPTA Act, or the one at the state discrimination against the state disability law, if you check, most of that offense do not come with specific punishment that one will have loved to see. If it's 10-year imprisonment, 5-year imprisonment. But don't also forget, the law is blind. You can, as long as you can argue your case, you can be set free. So, but domestic violence or whatever, gender-based violence is an offense. That is something we must know and we must carry around as in our image, that if you sexually abuse somebody, if you stare at particularly if a man and you stare unnecessarily at the other person's body part, if he can provide evidence, if or she can provide evidence that you are staring at me, particularly at my private part beyond what is normal, if you can provide evidence and the court find the evidence as valid enough, then the person can go to jail. If somebody touches you unnecessarily or share some jokes that you are not very comfortable with, and you have evidence of those things, because it's evidence that you are going to prove in the law court. And that's why in most cases, most of these people go scot-free, because they can't produce enough evidence. The law court will not operate on sentiment or whatever. They want evidence.
Right. Well, you're actually right on that.
You claim that you were touched.
Right.
You must be able to convince the judge that, or the magistrate, or whoever is making the decision, that of a truth, I was molested sexually, or I was molested verbally. and you need to prove all this. So for now, we cannot say that. But that does not mean that people have not been sent to jail for gender-based violence. Only that we want to see more people getting right judgments, particularly person with disability, because that is not common. In fact, when we started this campaign, one of the lawyers we work with even say that the best thing is first to go to carry a person with wheelchair, and all of us pretend, and then we can take whatever reaction so that we can test the veracity of the law and that we can send the person to jail. I said we will get to that level first, but first let's create awareness. Let people know that it is illegal, it is injustice not to carry them. So like I said, the level of ignorance is very, 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 very deep. The gap is. The first thing is, let's start the conversation with creating awareness, educating, sharing knowledge so that they know. So now, at that level, because it's not something that we're going to stop in the next 3 months, it's something that we're going to push until we find something worthwhile that we can say this is the good outcome that we have achieved. Of a truth now the media visibility for that campaign is good for us. We are glad that media houses like yours see a need to talk about this, and other media houses that are doing it. So I think that it is something that this is progress, high hope now, and creating awareness.
Thank you so much. There's a message from Emmanuel, and he said he's listening from Duse Alaji. Good afternoon. I'm listening from Duse Alaji, and it's a very, very good conversation you're having right here in the studio. Kudos to you, Aisha and Esther. Thank you so much. And he added that I am also a person with disability, and I think this is the best part of my day for today. I love the hashtag wheelchair not luggage campaign. Thank you so much, Mr. Olaito, for bringing it up.
Thank you.
That's from Emmanuel. Another message from Aisha. This is one of our usual persons that send messages. She said, I'm listening live, and it's good to know that wheelchair is not a luggage. Citizen FM kindly loud this campaign even more. Thank you so much, Aisha. We do appreciate you. And then the last message. Good afternoon. This is my first time of sending a message. My name is Leo. Hello, Leo. Thank you so much for sending a message. And he said it's a very good topic that really needs to be lauded. Thank you so much, Leo. We really do appreciate. And I guess our network is not really too good today. I saw like 2 people were trying to call, but they ended abruptly, so we didn't get to. So, Mr. Yinka, of time has far been spent. Right. What is your last word?
Thank you.
What is your last word?
Yes, I'm happy that this is a good conversation. This is attracting the right conversation, and I want everybody, particularly a person with physical disability, to get involved in this campaign. We will continue with this at all the platforms. We are running a webinar on it at the end of the month, and we're going to bring everybody to share their thing. So it's something that we are happy that is generating the right conversation, and we are stepping up that conversation. I want to appreciate you, Aisha and Esther, for this opportunity to bring this to the notice of the public in general. We are so happy that you are one of the leading media houses supporting what we do, because as much as we do it, when we do it together, we can achieve faster. So it's an opportunity to have this, to share our vision with people. Peradventure, people want to contact us, or they feel that they have their level of ignorance. If you can help us share our email with them so that they can always get across. We are ready to help persons with disability. That is why we are here. And then we call on the federal government to do the needful. We call on the special assistance to the president on special need, Abba Isa, who is a good friend of the ecosystem and that we talk to every time, to also speak out. We also appeal to the Executive Secretary, National Commission for Persons with Disability, the present one, that it is something that all of us should step up the conversation together. Thank you, listeners. Thank you, Aisha and Esther.
Mr. Olaito, you can actually call out the email so people could reach you directly. That's fine.
Info is info@cdinclusionafrica.org. CD Inclusion at cdinclusionafrica.org, info@cdinclusionafrica.org. So if anybody is feel that particularly a person with a person with disability, and you feel that your rights are being maligned, please reach out to us. This is why we are here. We appreciate every one of you. Thank you, and it's a good one. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Esther. I believe you have one or two things to say, Esther. Let's hear you.
Yes, it's been impactful knowing that there's a lot of things we take for granted,
right?
That are not supposed to be for granted,
right,
especially when it has to do with persons with disabilities. And just like you rightly said, we at Citizen 93.7 FM, we are going to keep hammering the word so that people understand the importance of treating your fellow human being with humanity, and understanding that you find yourself in a different position from another doesn't mean you should look down on the other person.
Right.
And don't engage in gender-based violence. Don't touch a disabled woman in the wrong places that you're not supposed to touch, all in the name of you're trying to help her.
Esther, disabled is not the word.
Yes.
Yes.
I know
That's not the word, Esther. Disabled is not the word. Yes, we have to remind ourselves. Disabled is not the word.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. But then again, it's important to know that Mr. Yinka is always available to put his mouth in what concerns us and when it comes to sharing the message about persons with disabilities.
Yes, thank you so much, Esther. Yes, for me, I'll say your present circumstance doesn't determine where you can go. They merely determine where you can start. And I think this is laudable. This is something we all should. For me and Esther, personally, I can vouch for myself, and then for Esther as well. We are advocate for anything that has to do with persons with disability. This is a cause that is really special to us, and this is something we really want to always talk about and then loud in everything we do. And so, wheelchair is not a luggage, and I feel there's a need to even add wheelchair is not a luggage and is not a baggage. We're hoping that people that listen to us will spread the word, let everybody know that, let these drivers that keep listening to us know that it is not right for you to charge any person with disability who wants to, enter your taxi or even your bus, and then you ask him or her to pay extra for the wheelchair. We're also hoping that the right authorities are actually listening and then will do the right thing. Let there be specific punishments for anyone that violates any of these laws for persons with disability. Thank you so much, Abuja. My name is Aisha Shoaib Badegi.
And I am Esther, but you can call me your minister.
Good afternoon. Of course, enjoying the rest of your day, Mr. Yinka.